I mean, I had some small struggles with that video that you would have seen before we got into the matchup. Of course, all of us doing content pieces for the teams, and it's honestly, it's hard to peg Beast Coast anywhere in terms of what they're capable of accomplishing. This is a team that has been quite inconsistent so far. And I mean, there's a number of teams that have a new look to them this season. You know, we come in and it's like we spent a lot of time in the DZ SSG matchup, much to the chagrin of a couple commentators on social media. We spent a lot of it talking about the new look of SSG. And in fact, the new look of DZ as well, with NJR coming in and Hot and Cold stepping off of support and going to Mirage. Then you've got Mirage, Xset, and Beast Coast, all of whom are total question marks because they're brand new. Even the Soniqs have an entirely new look, with them basically picking up 4 players from E United, throwing them in with Super, and then going from there. But we can talk about that throughout the course of the matchup because we do have, at minimum, 12 rounds of regulation to get through, possibly overtime, possibly even sooner, depending on how quickly either of these teams are capable of defeating the other. Coming into Oregon, Michael, the operator bans are in. Thatcher and Zofia will be the bans on attack, with Wamai and Mira being the operators on defense, banished from this matchup.
So one fun fact before we get into this is that Oregon has not been played by Beast Coast in a good long while. I mean, from like late January to now, it hasn't. Oregon hasn't been touched. Beast Coast just don't go there, at least according to the stats that I've seen. So there's not a lot to draw on regarding this map just for Beast Coast. One thing I really got to question is this Zofia ban from Beast Coast. I mean, obviously they're looking into something. They're trying to counter a player here, but I'm looking at the stats right now, and Zofia's not even that great of an operator for the Soniqs. On this map, when available, she's picked 85% of the time, and she, from that 85%, gets you a 32% win percentage, which is lower than like Ash, for example, which gets you a 40% win percentage. This is the Sonic stats on Oregon. I don't know about that ban. I think that the Ash ban might have been a little bit more of a better target, but I guess they want to keep the Ash up for Beast Coast.
There are a lot of times where you'll see target bans, especially towards more aggressive operators. I do find it funny, though, that they banned Zofia because Ghost as a player often succeeds in his role playing Zofia. So there's obviously going to be some changes there, and he's immediately on Ash. As you said, Ash is an operator that can pay dividends in terms of the stats being maybe a bit stronger at the moment. And for somebody like Ghost, knowing that Beast Coast plays well, maybe they feel like they can get more value out of that. It is worth noting that whenever you see a team target ban an operator, and I would argue that Zofia is a good candidate for a target ban. She is so infrequently banned, unlike operators like Thatcher, Maestro, Mira, Valkyrie, etc. Those are staple bans. Zofia being removed from action suggests to me that this is done to try and hinder the Soniqs when they go on to attack. So Beast Coast are going to know how to play around this, and it's something that I always like to bring up just for people who don't really understand the way that these bans work.
Yeah. So we've got top control, first priority for Beast Coast here, and they're already doing a great job at that. Droning in, checking all the corners, making sure that they're not going to get caught out by somebody trying to rat in a corner anywhere. And now the hard destruction starts to go up. You've got Habana. She can easily open up all 3 drop downs on this site. And once you get those drop downs open, as Beast Coast, you have a lot of options available to you. Fozo's going to be using his Breach Torch to open up the one in meeting. That'll give him, I guess, a little bit of usefulness in this round. He can also later open Elbow if it's reinforced by Soniqs late in the round.
We've seen a lot of teams in North America in particular, though Oregon does tend to have a very high pick rate across all regions. If we focus solely on NA, the attacks always wind up by pillars. Very infrequently do we see a push from the front of laundry. It's always towards supply side. It's always towards elbow. It's always towards pillar, which means that the players from the Soniqs that are in this very strong position just need to hang on. And right now it looks like you've got both Rexon and Yeti playing in that position, and Malusi there from Kansan to support as well. So the Soniqs have their eyes on the prize, and there might actually be a bit of early action. If Yeti just moves an inch, he would have seen one of the Beast Coast players on the back stairs.
Nice stun in there. That's going to allow Fozo to take the peek onto Yeti, who will win the heads-up gunfight. Sippin and Rudy dropping through E-Box, and they're going to have good control now in Pillar. You talked about it, and you're right, Parker. This Pillar control is going to help the attack a lot. The push into the hall for Sippin is aided by the Candelas. He'll get 2 big kills, and Freezer. Anthony cleaning up in the site, and it's a flawless round for Beast Coast.
Well, you go into this matchup and you look at the stats between these teams, and it's very apparent that the Sonics, coming in as a team that was in first place, but now they're in third, but that's just the way that things go here in NAL. It's very apparent with how often they've played Oregon, how infrequently Beast Coast have played Oregon, the stats that the Sonics are putting up. Well, you look at the Sonics as a team that should be the clear favorite, even though their record on Oregon this season isn't particularly good. Yes, they technically defeated both OXG and TSM on this map, but they were both 8-7 victories. On DZ, they lost 4-7. So Oregon is always close for the Sonics, despite it being their best played map. It's entirely possible, as you said, since we don't have a lot of info on how Beast Coast plays this map, they could have just been hiding it and waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. And if that's the case, this is as good an opportunity as any. Even though Beast Coast enter this matchup in 5th, a solid 3-point victory over the Sonics would actually vault them ahead of the Sonics into a tie with Dark Zero for 2nd. So these NA League standings are anybody's game at the moment. There are a couple teams that I think are a little bit too far behind to be able to gain ground. But from 6th in Disrupt's place with 7 points, all the way up to OXG in 1st with 12, this week is anybody's game. We have games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You put in a good performance on all 3 of those days, and it's very possible that you finish in the top 2.
And you know, another thing on that note, Parker, is that 3 days in a row you're playing. I mean, that's a chain that is hard to hold for some teams. That's a lot of work to put in, and it is going to show us which of these teams are truly the most durable in their mentality, who can allay the fatigue that is sure to set in for some of these players the best. So that's going to be a consideration. Not here for day one. What is a consideration in this round is Yeti getting the lead off pick. Now, he switched off of Legion onto Warden to counter the Ying, and he did it a little bit better than he was hoping to by actually eliminating the Ying as the first death in this round.
Ying operates in what I guess you could refer to as a bunker buster strategy, especially on the back portion of that map. When a Wamai is left up and a Jaeger is left up, it is very challenging to cut through pillars, especially if a team is running in a Rooney. Now, Wamai is banned out for this matchup, so we're going to see a Rooney and Jaeger quite frequently. The Sonics have ran them in the previous round and are now running them now, which essentially means that you're going to need a lot of throwable gadgets and a lot of disruption, especially with Zofia banned. You don't have the option of those stuns at your disposal, and those stuns are excellent for being able to eat out either ADSs or the Surya gates. Enter Ying. She is an extraordinarily viable operator on this map. We see her on almost every single bomb site, so a Warden swap here is very smart as a hard counter and acts as another piece of utility soak for the defenders.
Rexon and Yeti playing pillar is going to be so important. We'll keep hammering that one home because it's the centerpiece to the strategy for both these teams. You can see that Ghost wants to make a drop, but look at those Surya gates on the doors that are going to prevent you from exiting E-Box should you drop. That's calculated by the Sonics. They're trying to force Beast Coast into another strategy, and Beast Coast is obliging. Anthony, over by Freezer. Easy nade, no ADS, nothing to stop it inside of Freezer, and down goes Kanzan. That's a great pick to start off the execution for this round. And even without the Ying, now that you've got even man advantage, this is doable for the attack.
There's a ping going out towards pillars just on the right side of the bottom of blue stairs. Fozo is going to be held off for the Banshee that was placed at the bottom that won't give his position away. And Rexon is very ready for anything that happens in that direction. It appears that Fozo might actually drop off. There goes a clone to give away Yeti's position in Freezer, not expecting immediate follow-up, but he gets one and lines him up for 2 big kills. Yeti's got all 3 so far. Traded out, though, as Beast Coast pushes from pillars. Fozo's in, but the Sonics clean up with the remaining 2 members of Beast Coast getting caught trying to reposition. Excellent job here from the defense to hang on, and, well, just small changes make a huge difference, especially that early pick onto the Ying, completely destroying the attacker's ability to blind and charge that bomb site. Freezer not expecting
Yeti letting us know that he sees Beast Coast, and we definitely see him. A big round from Yeti. I gotta say, he shouldn't have died there. That's poor coverage from Rexon, and that is the only reason I hesitate to call that an overall good round for the Sonics is because, yeah, you gotta get that cover down. Yeti wasn't looking towards pillar because he had a teammate covering pillar. Shouldn't have been a victim at all. that could have turned into a disaster. But that's just nitpicking on a round that was ultimately won by the Sonics, which is the most important thing, of course. You get your dubs. Beast Coast, speaking of, do have one important round. Since they won on the bottom floor, and it was the first round of the rotation, that means that they are already sitting pretty for the attack half on Oregon. This map has consistently been a defender-favored map, and those two sites, the bottom floor and the top floor that we see ourselves playing right now, are the reason why. So now that the Sonics are going to go here, if they win this site, they get to go to an offsite, which offers another opportunity for a round win to Beast Coast on the first half. So this, while looking good for the Sonics as well as the Beast Coast, and I know it's too early to really call it, is still a much more comfortable place for Beast Coast than it ought to be.
After 2 attempts at holding that downstairs, the last one finally paying off. It's upstairs to dorms with the Sonics whisked away to the next most viable bomb site here on this map. Unsurprising to see a Ying be brought yet again. 3 rounds in a row for the Hong Kong operator with lots of disruptive capabilities. The Sonics are not going to hang on to the Warden this time. They've instead subbed Yeti onto Goyo, and Goyo is a very strong operator on this map. Number one, it's another piece of utility soak. If you look at the Sonics lineup, they are doing a very hard hold in terms of utility soak. They don't have an Aruni this time around, but they've still got deployable shields, Banshees, and ADSs that are going to eat up the gadgets from the attackers. Anthony needs to move because he's going to take some damage from this breach charge here. That's the ping that you saw on your screen, and now Ghost is going to get yet another one off before going on to drone work. Beast Coast need to ensure that the entire bottom floor is completely taken care of, and they're going to use their drones and any info gathering tools they have to explore the nooks and crannies. The problem is that Yeti lurks down on that bottom floor. If they haven't droned him out and they don't find him, it looked like Anthony was the one who had set his Iana clone down there. He could potentially strike on a nice flank and be a really strong tool to dislodge Beast Coast right as they're going for their execute.
Ooh, this nade might be magical. It's all going to come down to how well it's placed, and it looked like it was placed perfectly, but Kansan only takes 25 damage, so maybe not. Ghost will receive some damage in turn. Good awareness from Kansan to keep his gun up. Ash Charge will miss as well. Kansan just doing his best to stay alive, despite the explosives detonating beneath him, and he'll reposition. Probably the right call in that situation, but he repositions into an explosive. And now he's staring through holes once again in the floor, trying to contest Beast Coast's vertical play, which I like the strategy, by the way. Beast Coast going for downstairs and doing all this vertical can definitely net results, just hasn't yet.
There goes a flash along with Yana there. Some smokes to cut off any lines of sight from inside of the dorm's bomb site. Another Candela primed and ready. You got to wait out that C4, and they do just that. So Beast Coast trying to charge in, but they've been stopped in their tracks. A combination of explosives and toxic canisters from Super on White Stairs. So the Sonics just sit and, for the moment, will wait yet again. That was a false start for Beast Coast. They used a lot of utility, and we'll see if second time is a charm. In pushes Sippin. The first kill goes towards the Sonics. Sippin has no idea where anybody is, and the Sonics are just dominating. At the moment, a flawless round to answer Beast Coast's flawless round in round number 1, and that's 2 in a row for the Sonics.
I love the expressions on Yeti's face. You gotta look at that, man. Beautiful. Now, I gotta say, the round from Sonics was the only thing more beautiful than Yeti's smile. I mean, we saw complete vacation of the dorm's bomb site by the Sonics. They're like, okay, you're going to smoke us and you're going to Yin Candela us. That play is obvious. So let's just leave. It's exactly what the Sonics did. They left the site, they played retake, and then as Beast Coast started rushing into the site on their second initiation, they all met death. Beautiful setup from the Sonics, which is prompted by just a great awareness of the situation. Part of that might have come down to, and we can't tell, we can only speculate, part of that might have come down to the Valkyrie cams. Since we don't know where they were, we don't know what information they were gathering. But it seems like the Sonics were aware of the execute in its entirety, and I would probably guess, I mean, I would guess that it would be a Valkyrie cam that's causing that.
I mean, probably. They had lots of intel, and they didn't have any... I didn't see if they had a bulletproof camera available or not, but... Yeah, the Valkyrie cameras could prove to be quite strong, and then, of course, you know that an execute is going to come from that big window. Every single team tends to play Ying the exact same way.
Yeah.
There's a rotate hole that's open directly to the left of that big window. It's actually the panel that's currently reinforced on the screen. It's just There you go. That one's usually shot open for the defenders to play off of. The reason why is that you can nestle yourself very firmly in the kids' dorms bomb site and stare at that double window, prompting the attackers to need to either cut it off or actively engage you when they decide to push. This is something that is often missed. If you ever watch lower ranked gameplay, or if you even yourself are lower ranked, a lot of players like to reinforce and board everything up. The problem is that often ends up being counterintuitive. A lot of times by opening things up, it gives the attackers pause before engaging in that particular area. They don't want to just jump through a window if the whole wall is shot open because they have no idea what's on the other side. And from the strategy that the Sonics were running, it was apparent that, well, Beast Coast did not have full info, especially when Sippin vaulted in. The pre-fires from the Ying were fighting phantoms inside of kids' dorms, and the Sonics had fallen back and effectively pushed back onto the bomb site at the right time.
Oh. Well, Beast Coast throwing their hat in the ring here with an early pick and no response from the Sonics. That's what you like to see if you're on the attacking side. No immediate refrag means that you can center around the early pick and start an execution wherever that might be. Looks like it's going to be a meeting execution by the looks of it from the main lobby, opening up those split panels that'll give you access directly into the site. More damage being incurred here on the Sonic side. Bricks are put down to about 50 HP. Not ideal. And there's still opportunity for the Sonics. They still have these roamers upstairs that can definitely wreak havoc if given a little bit of leash.
Well, Fozo's very quick to the punch here. He's going to have to clear out up top. The timer is not necessarily on the Beast Coast side, but the kill feed absolutely is. That is except for Yeti, as those super falls from the Sonics, and Yeti trades him off onto Fozo. Rudy will now scramble to reposition. They're very close to being able to pull off and execute. This is a meeting kitchen defense. Sippin is going to look for the cross and almost connect, but the Sonics have equalized now. 1 minute still remaining. The advantage goes back in favor of Beast Coast. Grixer on a tiny bit of HP will have to hold off the kitchen push. Rexon trying his best on the flank, and it's good enough for Ghost. Once again, Sonics back even. Though Grixer's been spotted, his footprints tagged, and Sippin is hot on his heels. Firing through the bench, that's an easy kill for Sippin, and they have meeting control now, with Rexon essentially having to retake. I don't think he has any intel whatsoever, and this is going to be incredibly tough for the Sonics. His line of sight is cut off, so he'll look towards flag or split, depending on what you call it. A diffuser is down, and it's being sat upon by Anthony. It's like a mother hen almost, sitting on top of her eggs. Rexon has only 24 HP, and he's going to need to creep through this rotate. Very limited opportunity for the Sonics there, and Beast Coast do what they need to do. 2 players left to easily watch where Rexon was coming from, and the round goes in favor of Beast Coast.
One thing I really want to highlight for Beast Coast through that round, I think a good takeaway for all those budding competitive players out there, is the way that Beast Coast played that post-plant and planting process. So, when you don't know what you have in terms of control, you don't have a lot of information to give you more info. Okay, that's redundant. If you don't have a lot of information, then what you want to do is you want to tighten up your planting process. And then in your post-plant, don't overextend. A lot of people will plant the diffuser, and then they'll run to the other side of the bomb site, like, oh, I can get a better angle and hold it from a bullet hole through the wall. Don't overthink it. It's a 2v1. Take your refrag. Your guy's on cover right now. Sit on your diffuser. Don't get out of cover. And that's exactly how Beast Coast played it. It was masterful. And it shows their true understanding of angle play in Rainbow Six.
So the cycle renews itself again. Back down to laundry we go. Beast Coast have opted off of the Ying. Now, based upon the sites that were open, it was dorms that was one, laundry was reopened, and both of the kitchen-related bomb sites were free, whether it be the mess hall on the left-hand side or the meeting hall on the center to right side of your screen. So Beast Coast basically had to make a judgment call as to what site Sonics are going to defend. Given laundry and supply room's prevalence in the meta, it's a good guess that you're going to be going downstairs. And the Sonics have trotted out a lineup that is eerily similar to lineups that they've had before, if not, well, exactly the same. That same lineup is going to be designed to once again soak up lots of utility. And utility seems to be coming in spades for Beast Coast. Lots of flashbangs, grenades, smokes, not to mention the operator gadgets themselves. So Beast Coast come armed to the teeth with the lineup that we saw from them before, just as the Sonics will try their best to thwart it. The clear for Beast Coast will begin once again on that main floor. It doesn't appear that anybody from the Sonics are on the top floor, so if Beast Coast can very quickly drone that out, they will have full map control outside of the bottom floor, of course, where the bomb site lays.
Doesn't seem like we have any roamers here for the Sonics. They're just chilling. That's often what we see happen on the bottom floor. So there's nothing surprising going on. Again, the gates set up probably for E-Box just to make that back end push that much harder when Beast Coast do go for it. But they're not in a rush. Beast Coast know that they've got the control of the top 2 floors. What they're going to do now is they're going to start trying to poke at the site. They want to clear out utility. They want to start understanding what they're dealing with, open up the drop downs. Just generally, you know, batten all the hatches, so to speak, so that they don't need to worry about flanks. And then they decide where they execute from. Last time we saw the Sonics execute in kind of a mixed way. They pushed down tower stairs while also trying to pinch from freezer. There was a little bit of main pressure as well, I want to say, but it was light. So Beast Coast will probably try something different as a result, given that how poorly it worked last time. The back take did work for Beast Coast the time they tried it, so maybe that's what we'll say.
I would say that the back take worked for Fozo, because he was often alone. And it's actually been a small change from Beast Coast, where teams like to control blue and then have 1 or 2 just try to drop either E-Box or through pillars. No. Beast Coast's focus has been very intently on freezer, and it was last time too. Obviously, the defense from the Sonics will revolve around Yeti holding this position. He got droned out and then got a 2-piece last time, and he's very keen for anybody to drop down in that location. ADS burned as 1 grenade gets tossed down, but it gets caught quite easily. The Sonics are preparing for a front take. This is something that we don't see all that often. And the presence from Laundry could potentially work out for Beast Coast. Anthony's last grenade goes off, but once again, not a target found. Some damage done to Kansan, but that's been about it. The storm is 30 seconds away, and if the Sonics just stand pat, well, the round will be theirs. Yeti engages, not knowing that it's a clone, though. This is all wasting time to try and give as much intel as possible to them. And even though Beast Coast has the intel, they've got a much harder job, and that's storming the site and picking up kills. 4 bodies from Beast Coast fall. Rudy on the ground denies a flawless, but is immediately traded off by Kansan. The Sonics take round number 5, and at worst, they will take 3 of the 6 rounds on their defense.
I mean, we're talking about masterful play. Yeti's hold of freezer is a great example, and Kansan's support of that hold is also very well played. The nade not getting the kill on that little cubby in the hallway for the attack really kind of upset the whole flow of the round for Beast Coast. They wanted to get any kind of pick they could on the front end so that they could make a more concerted push without worrying about too many crossfires. And that's understandable. You know, ideally, you're going to get that, but the Sonics are not leaving many cracks in their bottom floor defense anymore. They had in the past, and they've corrected that mistake. So well done to the Sonics for, you know, being sure they can hold every lane in a very solid manner. Now they go back to the top floor. This is the last round of the first half. And the Sonics have already clearly displayed their understanding of a Ying execute through the big window. So my question here is, Beast Coast, they've tried strategies on repeat for a while now. Are they going to whip out something new to take this round? Or are they going to attempt a big window execution with Ying again and likely flounder as a result?
Oh, we can speculate. I do like the changes from Beast Coast on their 3 separate laundry takes, but obviously didn't come up enough. This one is shaping up so far to be a very close matchup. If you look at the way that Oregon tilts towards the defense, and that's what we've seen, and you look at the penchant for the Sonics to give us all 15 rounds of this map, well, for Beast Coast, they're probably looking at the score and going, that's not that bad. We can make it up in the next half when we go on to defense. Regardless of spirited effort from Beast Coast so far, even though the adaptations from the Sonics have been mighty fine, and it's been odd over the 5 rounds. We had 2 flawless and almost a flawless on that previous round. Most rounds have been blowouts in favor of either team. Hasn't exactly been anywhere near as close every time as you would have expected. This is something odd that we don't see all that often.
Okay, speaking of odd, this play from Yeti inside a classroom is not only odd, but it's also low-hanging fruit for Beast Coast. Should he be pinched out, the round will change significantly. Yeti's been a top performer for his team, and he's now in one of the most exposed positions he can be in. There is no retreat from Classroom. He's droned out, and there's a cutoff from Beast Coast. That's a sure kill. Yeti must be confident in his ability to fight his way out of that position, but it is still a major risk.
This is an attic take where Mavericks like to play out, and Sippin sees a deployable shield, and he will wait patiently as there goes the wall. Expert maving from Fozo. I know that it's a bit of a meme, but we don't always see the most proficient use of that blowtorch from Mavericks, especially on hatches. I don't know what it is. Some of these players at the top level, well, they need to possibly go and grind it out. Fozo, though, so far has been quite good, and the deployable shield from the attic looks to be taken as Fozo has opened that entire panel up, and Beast Coast have stacked bodies in that part of the map. What it's done is it's made the Sonics completely evacuate attic, and they're holding really far back. Now that attic control is in Beast Coast's favor, Fozo can continue to push up, and he's been doing a good job split pushing for his team, as is Anthony with his grenades. He'll get the opening pick, but Fozo gets absolutely deleted from the face of the earth from a beautiful shot from Grixer inside of dorms. Back to 4v4, but now that Fozo is gone, the Sonics know they can hold on to attic, which is a strong spot for them to play off of. They can potentially hold games with that and the top of white too. So they're in good position at the moment. It also means that they don't have to give up kids' dorms like they did before, which means that when the Ying of Sippin bursts through a big window, well, they're going to be greeted by a nasty surprise inside of dorms. Super is all out of utility on that smoke, though. So for the remaining 30 seconds, a Nitro Cell from either Grixer, Yeti, or Kansan, 3 explosives remaining for the Sonics. That's what's going to make the difference. Nice angle here being holed from Kansan. Sippin is down after 1 Candela goes off, so the Sonics have exactly what they need. Anthony finished off now, too. So it's essentially a 4v2. Make that a 4v1 as Rudy is last one up. He brings Sippin back, but Beast Coast are living and dying by that window. A single kill for Beast Coast is all they get, and the Sonics close out the first half 4-2.
So the answer to my earlier question, will Beast Coast be able to adapt their strategy, is no. No, they will not. They, once again, went for a downstairs clear, augmented with a big window execute. The only difference is that they also factored in attic, which ended up not making much of a difference because Beast Coast didn't push attic. They opened it, and they got a little aggressive on it. I think they maybe had 1 player on the flank there, but that player died or was ineffective because there was no actual contact by pit. So the pressure that Sonics were feeling was basically nil. One of the big things that I want to highlight for that round strategically, or not necessarily strategically, more like just game awareness, is the way that whoever downed the Ying, I didn't see it because my feed was too pixelated, whoever downed the Ying, the way that they peeked into the Candela tosses, that's great awareness. Just knowing that you can peek a Ying who's throwing Candelas, because it's really awkward throwing a Candela. You have to kind of hold it for a while, and you don't necessarily expect to be peeked. Having that awareness of the opportunity there on the Sonic side shows, I guess the result of practice. So well done to whoever peeked that. That completely defanged the execution for Beast Coast by putting the Ying on the floor.
The Ying on the floor and also attic, because if Fozo is able to take up space in attic, number one, it means that there's no real avenue for the players in the B-bomb side of Sonics to go anywhere. They're going to get pressured from big window, which is going to get smoked off from the Ying. They can't hold it as readily as they want. That position that was being held by Kansan staring at the big window, you're susceptible to getting pushed from the back through the rotate hole that's opened up in attic and dorms, and Fozo could have very easily challenged from that position. You saw the moxie that came from the immediate translation of the defense from Sonics. They moved from trophy, they moved from inside of games, and they once again retook dorms and they retook the attic. And that's because they knew that they didn't have any presence there. And part of that is also just how Beast Coast has been playing. They've been sending Fozo off, and I don't want to say suicide missions, but he is often on his own, relatively unsupported. And I don't know if the team lives or dies off of those strategies, but if Fozo isn't able to do his job, it does seem to directly hinder the rest of Beast Coast's advance. But that was that half. This is this half, and the Beast Coast attack has now transferred to defense. They're upstairs on dorms with Ghost lurking down below. We're a minute through this very first defense for BC.
Now, luckily for Beast Coast, you don't need to be as creative on the defense, but they're already starting with some finger painting of sorts. It's the Clash being brought out by Rudy. That is an interesting choice. It means that you're slightly less lethal as a team. Obviously, 1 less gun on the board. You know, she does have a gun, but you get what I'm saying. But at the same time, you've got more control. And it's easier for you to force out a position by just walking into it. It's very rudimentary as an operator, or Clash is very rudimentary as an operator. However, she can accomplish a great deal if used correctly. So, already on the entry for the Sonics, I'm curious to see what their execution is. It looks like it's mostly Attic and Master. This is pretty default. This is very old. When Oregon first got reworked, this was already sort of a strategy. So, I like what I'm seeing here from the Sonics because it's tried and true, but I worry that it might be a little bit too easy for Beast Coast to counter.
This also explains the Zofia ban from Beast Coast, by the way. She is easily the best counter at the moment for a Clash. You see her, you've cleared out utility, you can cuss her and immediately follow up. So a Zofia ban explains the ability for Beast Coast to play Clash quite so readily, because the counters to her being a possible air jab, potentially a flashbang, potentially a Capitao arrow. Right now, the only things you have on the board are possible flashbangs and a Nomad to deal with. Anyway, we are getting to the danger zone for both of these teams. Fozo is gone. The Maestro will not have much of an impact. He'll have to call from the grave as the Sonics get that opening pick. They're up 5v4 with 28 seconds on the clock. Anthony will try to hold down Kids' dorms. The Sonics advance comes from the east side. They will lose control of Attic on Beast Coast side and now stare towards what will eventually be a plant inside of Dorm's main hall. Yeti getting it in a relatively safe spot, but he gets swung by Anthony. Nobody from the Sonics are watching. Immediately a shotgun is out and Beast Coast are retaking. Ghost, 2 beautiful shots, but the Sonics find their own. With only 4 seconds left, it's a clash against the world. Rudy pulls out the SMG. The diffuser going down. Tons of damage done, but Grixer the lockout and the Sonics take their first attack.
Huge round from Grixer. A constant back and forth on the execution. Frags definitely looked like they were starting to go Beast Coast's way, but in the end, I hate to say it, but once again, not having that one extra gun made the difference. That's the problem with Clash, and it's why you don't see her very often in competitive. Yeah, she's great in control. But she wasn't even used for control. What were Beast Coast doing with their Clash? They're going to take a timeout, by the way, but let's talk about this real quick. Why have you lost Attic and Pit, and why are you letting them push in through Trophy and the Breach readily when you have a Clash on the board? I know that you've got Yings. You got to deal with that. I get it. But the Zophia's banned. Be a little more assertive with your shield. At least try to control Attic. There was a great opportunity to do that. And Beast Coast, strategically, by the way, they kneecapped themselves on that front because they opened the Attic wall in the prep phase. They wanted it open. That means Clash can't stare down the Attic lane from Pit. It means she has to confront that push from deep in sight, which effectively, it's like, what's the point of bringing Clash? So there was some really confusing setup there from Beast Coast, and I definitely question their strategy. I think they're going to need to make some correction on that next time they go to the top floor, because honestly, from what I saw from the Sonics, yeah, they won that round, but I don't think they should have. One more gun for Beast Coast up and ready to take fights, and I think that would have been a Beast Coast round.
I mean, what was the offsite play from Beast Coast there? The only one that I saw that wasn't taking up any space in the bomb site was Ghost, who was playing down below, and I don't think the Sonics droned him out, and Ghost wasn't particularly effective because Jaeger doesn't have a nitro cell from below. There was no opportunity for Ghost to do much down below. So it's part in the street racing, by the way, that's going on outside of my house.
Is that what that is?
That was somebody who spent an awful lot of money to make their cheap car sound very expensive. So yes, that's exactly what that was. And I apologize to the gearheads that are currently in the chat who are going to come in and say, well, actually, you don't. It's whatever, man. I don't care what you think, by the way. I don't care what you think about the car, how it sounds. Regardless. The only offsite pressure that I saw, and I even hesitate to call it pressure from Ghost, because the space he was taking up down below and on that main floor wasn't particularly effective. You know, if you're talking about an operator that's down below equipped with a nitro cell, a pulse, maybe a Malusi, maybe a mute, and we've seen tons of teams stack up inside of security, which is where Ghost is almost right now with the nitro cell. SSG favored this in their matchup just a couple play days ago on Oregon. You can very easily stop a push in its tracks by forcing the attackers to have to contest. But Ghost's roam didn't seem to be particularly effective. He was able to get back to the bomb site alive and did some major work at the top of White Stairs. He took out 2 members of Sonics, which is impressive. But that's essentially on-site play. Now, this round, there's a clash yet again. An air jab should be able to knock the clash away. That is not great play, and I don't know what Beast Coast are trying here. After this timeout, it's not really working out in their favor, and it's drawing some confusion from the Sonics too. 2 minutes left, and it's a 5v2 for the Sonics. They managed to hold this round together. They go on to match point. This is an incredibly strong start for Sonics, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it certainly feels like we're going to go to match point.
I mean, let's take a look at this objectively, Parker. Look at the scoreboard on the right side. Rudy has a red stick. Ghost and Fozo have 2 kills each. Sippin's got both their kills combined. And then there's Anthony. He's the saving grace for Beast Coast right now. I mean, I know frags are not everything, and I especially like to hammer that one home most of the time. But you need somebody who's winning gunfights. I don't care what team you are, what your strategy is. You definitely need somebody you can pivot your whole execute or defense around, who will take a gunfight, win it, and then you'll be fine. If Anthony's the one on 8 frags right now as the smoke, then there is a problem, because he is not something that you can, as an operator, pivot around. Smoke is going to anchor down the site. He's going to do what he's doing right now. Anthony's not doing anything wrong, not being on the front lines. He's just filling his role. Some changes need to be made for Beast Coast, because what we're seeing so far is the Sonics basically tearing them apart.
One of the things that we've seen from all of the teams in the bottom half of the score right now is that in the standings is almost every single team is somebody who is performing exceedingly well. On Mirage, you have Hot and Cold. You have Creators on XSET. For Beast Coast, who do you have? SSG has a bunch of performers in the top of the stats, but Beast Coast all tend to be quite average, and their team is average, and they're going to need to be a little bit better than that. Now, the top frag on Beast Coast is Anthony. He nets 9, and now 10, double digits for him, but the advantage is so much in the Sonics' favor that it doesn't matter if Fozo and Anthony can pick up a kill here or there. They need all 5. They get 3. That's it. Ultimately, the Sonics get the round, and they're on match point.
I mean, we saw some signs of life from Beast Coast earlier in this match, and we've seen some great things from them as well. I mean, I love the way they played the post plant in meeting execution. That was so good. Beautiful stuff. But that round did not instill faith, Parker. I mean, there wasn't really anything great about Beast Coast's round to speak of. And this whole experiment with the Clash, already over. Unless they're going to 6-pick here, and I really hope for their sake that they don't. They're committed to now having, once again, 5 guns up. And, yeah, I mean, like, look, Valkyrie's not banned. So, I mean, why would you play Clash when Valkyrie's not banned? I mean, the whole thing with Clash is control and information, right? But primarily information. That's the whole name of the game at competitive Siege. At least it's one of the major prongs. And who gives better information on defense than Valkyrie? Especially if you can get those cameras in some, hard to reach places. And on this site, on this map, there are lots of good places to put Valkyrie cams. And even if you know they're there, they are hard to deal with. It's like, for example, above trophy door, there's a little, like a nook, I guess, in the ceiling. Yeah, even if the attacker knows that there's a Valkyrie cam there, they have to peek trophy door looking straight up at the ceiling to shoot that one. Just one example. So, yeah, okay, good. We got Valkyrie, but is it too little too late for Beast Coast? I mean, it's match point already.
Well, I mean, I don't think people realize how tall of a task it is for Beast Coast to come back. The one thing that is in their favor, and I noted before, was that we do tend to see Oregon skew towards the defense. Now, that hasn't particularly helped Beast Coast through their first 2 rounds. They are 0 for 2 on defense at the moment, and a timeout in the previous round didn't really help them ultimately all that much. So back up to dorms they go, hoping for a more successful defense. Now, the last time around, for those that remember, the Sonics decided to attack strictly from Master. They attacked from Closet and they attacked from Trophy. They didn't really have to worry too much about Attic. They didn't really have to worry too much about back of the site, which is, well, towards Big Window. We'll see if the Sonics tackle it from this same location, and they came eerily close to picking off another member of Beast Coast in the early onset of this round, just as last time. If Beast Coast fly too close to the sun here, they can very, very likely get burned, and they're trying to ping off this Malusi of Sippin, who's playing back tower.
For the Sonics, the Jackal is going to make this process much faster of clearing out the roamers. Just find that footstep and scan it, and you can find your prey. The roamers of Beast Coast are all stacked together, all 3 of them, trying to make their way back to site. I like this ball roam strategy because since, I mean, like, Beast Coast aren't winning gunfights. Let's just be upfront about that. And if they're not winning gunfights, better to have 3 people together so that maybe one of them will get the refrag. So yeah, it's a smart setup for Beast Coast. The roam is not going to meet any contention though, because the Sonics execution is primarily attic, big window. So this is the same strat we saw from Beast Coast. Executed much differently though. Sonics are coming in from below a lot later in the round, and I don't think they're going to have as much vertical pressure with their explosives. They haven't even brought nades, so it's just going to be the Ash, really. Overall, it's not a bad setup for the Sonics, but I think that Beast Coast actually strategically played this execution slightly better, at least in the setup.
Well, this is an interesting decision from Yeti to watch this tight of an angle and distract whoever's playing upstairs inside of dorms. In this instance, it's the best player from Beast Coast so far this matchup, and that's Anthony, who's 10-6, a pretty decent score so far. I don't know if Super was trying to repel up or not, but he dropped down, and now Rexon is gone. So the Sonics find themselves behind by 1. Immediately answered up. Now Ghost has been dropped. A Nitro Cell whiffed from Rudy. That's a rough one. Kendall is going off. Grixer there. Super swings on in, and this one is over. The Sonics take it by a score of 7-2, dominating Beast Coast. And that's first place for Sonics.
Okay, this is hard to say. Great. I mean, yeah, okay, Sonics got it. I'm happy for them. They should not have won that round. That's like what? That's 20 seconds left on the execution. Their Sonics are fumbling their setup. The early round was done. I mean, like, they did okay, but there were so many things missed. Honestly, that's just Beast Coast falling apart. Like, straight up falling apart. Whiffing the C4 is a good, you know, I guess, and a little piece of the round that we can highlight on that was pretty bad. But overall, they lost like almost all of their gunfights on that execution, and they forfeited almost all of their control off of what, 1 Ying Candela? Nah, that is a mess from Beast Coast. Well done to the Sonics though. Swift end to that match.